Behind every smile is a story of pain, strength, and resilience. The Blueprint Podcast is where those stories are told, where we heal, evolve, and reclaim what's ours. And whether you're a woman finding her voice or a man ready to listen and grow, this space is for you. Together, we rise back into her. Hey, y'all, and welcome back to the Blueprint Podcast. I'm Unique, your friend, your sister, and your host for today. Today, we're getting real about what's happening inside our homes, how we parent, how our kids are coping, and how we can build healthier emotional patterns. Because the truth is, what happens in childhood doesn't stay in childhood, it shapes everything. Joining me today is Briyon, a licensed associate professional counselor based right here in Atlanta. She's passionate about helping families navigate healing, trauma, and mental health with grace and understanding. This conversation is especially important for Black families and single mothers who are carrying so much on their shoulders, trying to raise emotionally healthy kids while healing themselves at the same time. We're unpacking parenting styles, mental health in children, and how to break generational cycles, one honest conversation at a time. So, welcome to the Blueprint, Briyon.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, as a mom myself, I've realized that parenting doesn't come with a manual. In fact, it's hard. And half of the time, we're just doing the best we can with what we've learned growing up. But sometimes what we've learned wasn't even always healthy. So, what you've seen as it relates to parents raising kids versus how they were actually raised during kids, because I'm sure you have had those conversations. What's one of the big difference you notice in parenting styles?
Now, it's a lot of differences. Like parenting is not the same anymore, right? Times have changed. I do notice that lack of parents having a routine does affect children. So a lot of times parents are wanting children to be accountable. However, they need to be held accountable as well. And one of
Yes.
the things too that helps is, having that routine, right? Having that structure, positive reinforcement, sticker charts, anything that you can do to help your little one.
Yeah, I think that's very important. And we do have several different types of parenting style, and I'm gonna bring those on the screen for the readers to see. But can you speak a little bit about the different types of parenting styles?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have the permissive parent, right? They're very child driven. The child basically tells the parent what they want and the parents actually give it to them. They barely give any kind of like rules, any kind of discipline. A lot of times what you see, these children end up growing up with no kind of boundaries, no expectations. They don't respect people's boundaries. So it's very important that you're not, using that parenting style. You have the uninvolved parent, which can sometimes appear to be neglectful.
Mm-hmm.
They don't really provide a lot of guidance for the child. They're not really involved. They can't tell you what classes their child is taking, what grades they're making. They just
Okay.
have no kind of interest whatsoever.
Mm,
Right? You have more of the authoritarian, which is more parent driven. There's a lot of rules, there's a lot of punishment, there's a lot of discipline.
yeah.
So those are the strict parents, I guess you would say.
Okay.
And then you have the authoritative, which I don't know. I think I'm a mixture of both authoritative and authoritarian. But with authoritative, you work more with the child, right? You guys are doing problem solving. You actually care about the child's insight. Maybe a question you may ask your child with authoritative parenting style is, okay, what do you think your punishment should be or your discipline should be?
Yeah, I've actually started doing that as of recently. I'll ask him, and he will say, maybe take my tablet away. So he be giving me the punishment ideas that he wants. And for him telling me to take his tablet away, that's big, right? But
That is absolutely huge.
yeah. So we live in a society where we're hearing these two terms, gentle parenting and traditional. which is usually fear-based discipline. When is tough too tough when raising kids or disciplining kids, rather?
That's a good question. When is tough too tough?
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I don't know how to quite answer that because it's like situational based, right? And it's also tradition and cultural based. So for me, tough is too tough when your child is not able to come to you to express their feelings, their thoughts,
Mm,
their concerns.
and that's what we don't want.
No, 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 we don't want that. And the major difference between punishment and discipline is more so, used to teach the child from that action of what
Mm-hmm.
they did. Right? Punishment is just a punishment. I'm just going to tell you to do this and then that's it. But discipline, you actually get a chance to have your child understand what they did,
Yeah.
right? And teach them the consequences of what could have happened or the things that they should be doing. That's accurate.
Okay. So I started out with gentle parenting with my son, and I soon realized that being too gentle is not the way. So I think there has to be a middle ground, right? Because mothers, especially single mothers, raising Black boys, we have to find a way to let them realize that they are going down the wrong path, or hey, this is not okay. But I'm sure with that too comes that emotional issues with the mother, because trying to navigate parenting and everyday routine and supporting the family, mothers do get burnt out as well. Do you see that a lot where mothers are complaining about that?
Oh, absolutely, especially single mothers, they are burnt out. Some of them are working one job or two jobs, and it's just I'm seeing another shift happening where kids are taking care of kids, right?
Mm,
Some cultures are like, that's just what it is. Other cultures are affected. They want kids to be kids, but they can't because they're too busy being a parent.
yes.
So that part can be very challenging as well.
Yeah, I definitely resonated recently with a young man that's now behind bars. I think it's in Atlanta. I'm not exactly sure. Um, he's 17 and his mom left him with her kids, his siblings, and he ended up disciplining one of his sibling, the sister. And somehow I think she called the police, and no, it's been 2 weeks since he's been behind bars. It made me reflect on my own life growing up, because I took care of my siblings at the age of 17. So my mom had to go to a different country to go to work, and there were times that I had to discipline them. So the thought of knowing that I could have been in jail too, because you are doing what is right at that moment. What do you think about that government policy now that is in place, that if you spank your kids, you're gonna go to jail?
Well, again, there's a difference between discipline and punishment, right? I know they have it now where if you hit below the waist, then it's okay. But honestly, a physical discipline, it brings down children's self-esteem
Yeah.
as well. I think the best form of discipline too is to actually talk to your child, engage with them, and see what's actually going on.
Hmm.
There's different things that you can try as well to help them with listening techniques. Like one I use for my son is LCA. It's listen, comprehend, and apply.
Hmm.
So I'll ask him, hey, did you hear what I said? Can you repeat it back to me? Are you understanding what I said? And can you actually do what I'm asking you to do? Right. So with LCA, if I say something, he says LCA back to me. So that way we're under one page that, okay, we understand what we're saying. Nothing is going to go wrong. You understand you have to do the dishes. You understand you have to put it up, and you understand it has to be done by this time.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there any other way that you would advise to correct without introducing fear when disciplining?
Yeah, you can bring it back to the kids too. If you see something wrong, you can say, "Hey, what's wrong with this picture, Johnny? Maybe there might be shoes all over the floor. Maybe you can ask, like, okay, well, would it be safe if something happened and we ran down the stairs and tripped over the shoes?" And Johnny might say, "Well, no." So you kind of give them an opportunity to come up with their own ideas, and a lot of the times their ideas are correct.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. And I would assume that it's important to consider our kids human beings with real feelings, as well, because oftentimes as parents, we command what needs to be done without actually taking into consideration our kids' feeling. What do you have to say about that?
Goes back again, checking in, asking how your child is feeling. Like for me, for instance, my son, he's involved in a lot of things. He's involved in so many different activities. So yes, he does have a chore item, but I have it organized and broken down in certain days so that way it doesn't become so overwhelming.
Okay.
So regarding his like chores and homework, I'll say, hey, what kind of mood are you in? He might say
Mm-hmm.
sleepy, whatever the case is. We'll discuss like a time frame of where how many minutes he might need, and then he holds himself accountable, right? He'll set the timer for how many ever minutes we agree to. And that's how we kind of strengthen and build trust as well through that way.
Nice. I like that. Yeah. For the mothers who are listening, we have a tendency to want our kids to actually live out the life that we didn't get to live. So we have them in every single sports available, and not consider necessarily how the kid is feeling, if they're tired, if they're feeling burnt out. And I know you mentioned that your son is involved in a lot of things. Do you have advice for parents who are just throwing their kids in every single thing that they think of?
Yes, head towards your child's interest, right? Not only that, too, teach your child about the discipline. So if your child is like, "Oh, mommy, I really want to try karate," and you spend all of this money and you enroll them, it's good to show them that, hey, you made a commitment, you have to stick through it, right? If they decide they don't like it after that season or after that year, then yeah, that's fine. They can try something new. But you also don't want to tell your child it's okay to believe in something, started and quit it.
Yes, I love that. Definitely needed that for myself. She was speaking to me, guys, because it's almost like you knocked the nail on the head because I put my son in karate and he was not interested. So, and it was a 6 months commitment. So, you know how that goes.
Yeah, yes.
So, I will definitely take that into consideration. But let's shift gear a little bit to kids and mental health. So, we are seeing a lot of anxiety and depression. There is ADHD, there is the ADD, autism. We see kids throwing tantrum, kids not basically not regulating their emotion. We're seeing so much, but we don't know, is there a mental issue going on? Is it just the kid just having a tantrum moment? What are early signs a child needs help beyond just the home support?
I would say if your child is isolating, but keep in mind that, this ranges from ages as well. But yeah, isolation is a big one for teens. I see that often happen a lot with teens. They'll start to self-isolate. Probably because there's a lot of things that happens in high school as well that it's a new ground for them, so they're learning. And
Yeah.
sometimes they're being bullied or threatened or whatever the case may be. So you'll see isolation a lot.
Mm,
Or a loss of appetite as well. Like if you guys are used to eating at the dinner table and they're like, "Oh, well, I'm not really wanting
really.
dinner," or they just seem, yeah, really like standoffish.
Okay, so those are very good things to take note of because, especially if it's not normal symptoms of your child to not want to eat or extremely quiet, especially when they're usually bubbly and energetic, all of a sudden they just want to just go to their room and chill. So, how can parents talk about those big feelings without actually shaming the child? Because anxiety is no joke. Those symptoms, mental issue is no joke. So instead of actually making the child feel small, what are some ways that parents can actually talk about those issues without actually shaming the kid?
Yeah, I would say make it relatable, right? I'm pretty sure all parents have been anxious at some point in their life, so maybe they can make it relatable to say, "You know what, little Johnny, I can understand how you're feeling because in my own experience, I shared riding the bus, at this age, and it made me super anxious," or whatever the case may be. So as long as they know that, you've had some kind of experience in it and that you're relatable and easy to talk to, I think they'll open up.
Mhm.
And also stems too from having a good rapport and relationship with your child.
Yeah. Okay. Do you know, based on your your studies or your experience, why we're seeing so many kids these days with different mental issues.
Well, mental issues have always been there, but I think it's advocated more, right? Like you can go anywhere and see like the 988 posters like reach out and help. So I think overall like social workers, counselors, everybody in that field has done a really good job of advocating and pushing because we've been wanting individuals for the longest time to seek help. But before it was known as like a taboo, so something bad that people didn't really,
Mm,
it was frowned upon, right?
yeah,
Like, oh, why would you go see a shrink, right? But therapy is actually therapeutic and it gives you a space to not be judged, talk, be
yeah.
yourself, process, heal.
It's been so long since I've heard the word shrink. That's how much, listen, that's how much we've actually started to grow into people going to therapists
Yeah,
because you don't hear that term anymore. There's a time when if you mention that, everybody look at you like you're crazy, you're
yeah,
losing your mind.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
it's good that we're normalizing that. And when you and I spoke a few weeks ago, we did speak on our Caribbean countries need to get on board.
Yes, like how different countries should hop on board with therapy, absolutely.
Because if you mention that, they'll still look at you kind of crazy, like, why are you going to a therapy? Nothing is wrong with you. You just need to go drink some tea or something. Well, tea fixes everything in the Caribbean, guys. What do you have to say to them?
Well, I mean, therapy is always a great option, any tradition or culture. I think it's just really great to have a space where you can be yourself
Yeah,
and process through information.
yeah, yeah. I think it's important. Therapy has helped me to navigate some of my big feelings. And in fact, sometimes I go back to my old messages from way back when, and I'm like, thank God for Jesus.
Yeah,
Because, and for anyone who thinks that a person is not capable of growing, I will say that's a lie. We
that's
all are capable of growing, and therapy definitely helps you to process those feelings and realize, why was I like this? Why did I say this? Why did I want to fight that person? And so I would advise anyone to find a therapist. If you don't want to go in person, you can talk to them online. It's very important that you do. We all have trauma. So navigating from mental health and look into attachment styles. So we have secure versus insecure patterns. And we also have a few others. So I'll put that on the screen as well for you to share the different styles of attachment.
so of course we have the let's go this way. So
Mhm.
we have anxious, right? You're always worried about your partner if they're stepping out on you. You're just super anxious all the time if this individual is not present. And you have a very hard time communicating your needs as well, which communication is very important in any relationship, right? So if you do have that anxious attachment style, it doesn't mean that you can't be secure. It just means that you have a lot of work to do to get to a secure attachment style, right? Avoidant fearful, strongly fears rejection, right? So these are individuals too that they may be in a relationship and it might be going good, but the fear of rejection is still there. So it's easier for them to just leave before they get rejected, right?
Mhm.
It's always high tense anxiety, always worried that, they may lose that person that they have. And then avoidant dismissive. Okay. So this is one that can become more vulnerable when there is a big crisis as well. So we downplay the importance of relationships and a lot of times they minimize a lot of things,
Yeah.
right? They just don't want to deal with it. I'll just rather not deal with it at all.
Mm,
And the best one to have is the secure
mhm.
attachment style. This one, you guys are able to communicate. You respect boundaries in here. You respect the fair and fighting rules. You're not calling each other out of your name. If your partner has a text message, you're not thinking, oh, are they stepping out? Right? You guys really have a secure attachment within yourself and with each other as well.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. I wonder which one I am. I won't say.
Well, you can always take a quiz. I think that link is posted up.
Yes, I'm gonna drop that link somewhere here as well, but once I edit it, you guys will have that link in. in the description section. Go ahead and take it and find out what your style is. These attachment style, are they developed from a young age, childhood?
Yes, it can be developed at a young age from childhood. A lot of times we are caregivers, right? They're the people who are supposed to love us and
Yeah,
protect us. Everyone didn't necessarily have the best childhood, which is again understandable, but you can always gain a secure attachment style. It takes a lot of work, but it's
that's what I
definitely
was
doable.
about to say. Is it hard to move from, like, say, an avoidant dismissive to, a secure? Because an avoidant dismissive person downplays the importance of relationship, is usually extremely self-reliant child, can become more vulnerable when there is a big crisis. But to shift gear into being secure, what kind of work will be needed in order to switch to that?
So I would recommend a trauma timeline as well. That's when you are able to write down the different bullet points of traumatic experiences that you may have had. You may not remember all of the trauma that happened to you, but as you start writing the bullet points, things will start picking up. And then I would also recommend you guys processing each bullet with your therapist because a situation might have happened where, that caused you to become avoidant. And with that processing, it can help you lead to a secure attachment style.
Okay.
So we give the ACEs, which is the adverse experience childhood assessment, and it's based off of 10 questions. And the 10 questions you can answer yes or no, but if you answer yes to one or more, then it does mean that you've been exposed to trauma.
Mm,
So, like the first one, did you feel that you did not have enough to eat? Did you have to wear dirty clothes or had no one to protect or take care of you? Number two, did you lose a parent through divorce, abandonment, death, or another reason?
mm,
Three, did you live with anyone who was depressed, mentally ill, or attempted suicide?
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Four,
Wow.
did you live with anyone who had a problem with drinking or using drugs, including prescription drugs? All right. Five, did your parents or adults in your home ever hit, punch, beat, or threaten to harm each other?
Mm,
Six, did you live with anyone who went to jail or prison? Seven, did a parent or adult in your home ever swear at you, insult you, or put you down?
mm,
8, did a parent or adult in your home ever hit, beat, kick, or physically hurt you in any way? 9, did you feel that no one in your family loved you or thought you were special? And 10, did you experience unwanted sexual contact such as fondling or oral, anal, vaginal intercourse, penetration?
oh my goodness. I
Yeah,
am broken.
you know. So you kind of see how these questions, if you do say yes to one or more, it can absolutely affect
Yeah.
how you think, how you grow, what kind of individuals you accept, what kind of people you trust.
Hmm. But what if you're not constantly thinking about these things? How does it work mentally? Let's say there was a little girl that grew up and she didn't always have food. She saw her dad punch her mom. They got divorced. So she experienced all of those things, but she has grown up. She's a confident woman, but she's no longer necessarily thinking about what she's been through. Is it subconsciously somewhere that still affects her mentally, or how does that part work?
Yeah, I guess I would ask if she's not affected at all, what kind of work did she do? Or is the trauma so suppressed that it's almost like it never happened, right? Did she just move past it? One of the things I share in therapy all the time is we have to grow through things and not go through things, right? A
Mm-hmm.
lot of times when we go through things, we're not processing. It's like, boom, okay, it happened. Next event, next event, next event. But, dealing with something that traumatic, I would definitely recommend processing through.
Okay. So another thing that I find to be very important, or helpful rather, is the feeling wheel. And I'm trying to download one to put on the screen right now. But do you find that when you are conducting your therapy sessions with your clients, that the feeling will help them to describe their feeling a little bit better?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Because sometimes we don't know what we feel, right? We can feel it, but we can't necessarily express it. So the feeling wheel is a good visual for us to articulate what we're feeling in the moment.
Yeah. I actually love the feeling wheel. I used to actually use it in relationships where I would be like, hey, pull up the feeling wheel and let me know how your day was. Share with me what your day was like. And because we're so accustomed to saying I'm good or my day was good. Like really and truly, how was your day?
Yeah.
So when you use the feeling wheel, you're able to actually point out, you know what? Today I was fearful. Fearful of what? My boss said this or my boss said that. So you can break it down a little bit better. So I actually love the feeling wheel myself.
Yes.
So sticking to parenting and what do you have to say about some of these cartoons that we're seeing and YouTube exposure? Do you think that it is safe and how can we vet the things that we're exposing our kids to?
Okay. So for me, in my experience, what I do is I have parental protection on everything that my son uses. I don't really allow him to just kind of watch YouTube. Screen time is also monitored. I like to stay connected to what he's watching. There is a lot of cartoons that are over sexualizing just cartoons, right?
Mhm.
And bringing up adult topics, I would say, in cartoons that I don't feel is necessarily appropriate for children. And I
Mhm.
do feel that the media is now playing a parenting role, right, by exposing our children to situations that we might not necessarily be ready to expose them to as of yet.
Yeah, it's kind of sad. Some of the things that we are seeing on TV, we are seeing books, children books with a lot of things that we don't necessarily want our kids to see. So it's very important that we're vetting the content, the books, because we have to be in charge of what we are exposing our children to. So I love that. All right.
Oh, and you guys can get the family link. The family link, it allows you to access all of your children's device. There's also an I Spy. There's another phone too. I'll get the name of it. But it's basically a phone that already comes pre-vetted. So it vets every media that comes onto the phone.
Okay. We will also include those link in the description, guys. So thank you so much for that. Well, we're almost at the end of this segment. Is there anything that I didn't ask for our parents or single mothers specifically that you'd like to share with us today?
I would just say single mothers, it's again, it's about routine. If you are wanting your child to be disciplined, effective, and doing all the things you would want them to do, you also have to have a routine. You can't expect a child to operate like a robot. So they have to see you wake up on time at a timely time. They have to see you brush your teeth in the morning and at night. They have to see you shower. They have to see you iron your clothes. You can't want more out of your child than what you put within yourself. Be the difference you want to see.
So if you want your kids to take their shoes off at the door, you got to take your shoes off at the door too. Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you
Absolutely.
so much for sharing that. Before I end, I want to do some rapid reflection questions. So these are questions that I ask you just rapidly answer. We'll see how many of them we can get through. Yeah, so let's do it. Finish the sentence. A healthy home feels like
Peace.
peace. I love that. All right. So, one parenting myth you wish more people would let go of.
You can have everything.
Yeah, not possible. Not possible, guys. All right. Gentle parenting in one word.
Gentle parenting in one word.
Yeah,
Patient.
patience. Definitely need that for gentle parenting. What's one emotion parents need to normalize for their kids?
Normalize
Mhm.
happiness.
Yeah.
And I want to elaborate on this one. A lot of time when kids are happy, parents are irritated whenever kids are showing excitement.
Mm,
But you're showing that child that it's okay to not be happy, and that's not okay. Right? Kids should be kids. So if they're excited about something, that's okay. You might be irritated with how they show that excitement, but yeah. give your child grace to be happy as well.
Yeah. And that leads me into if a parent could only do one thing every day to support their child emotionally, what may it be?
Be present.
Oh God, that's so key. Being present. I feel like sometimes when kids get so detached, that's one of the main reason, because you're not present. And the first step to breaking generational cycle is
Being a difference maker.
yeah. Is that usually easy to do?
Well, it depends on, who you are, right? Because if you've been taught something all your life, it's up to you to be the change.
Yeah.
So it's almost like a habit, right? You have to unlearn a bad habit.
Yeah.
You can always pick up new great habits as well.
Yeah, I agree. And my last question is, what's one healing phrase every child deserves to hear?
Every day you have choices and you have chances.
Yeah. Every day you have choices and you have chances. And like my son will say, Mommy, I got a million chance today. No, you don't need a million chance, but give them as many chance to get it right as you would like for yourself when you're not getting it right. So that's great. All right, guys, that is it for session 1. This is promised to be a 2-part, so we will be having Briyon again. But before we close, Briyon, is there any social media, any project, anything that you'd like to share?
No, none at all. I actually don't have a social media.
Okay.
But I do want to thank you so much for having me tonight.
Yes, thank you so much for being here. I know it's late and I know it's a Monday. So I do appreciate you taking the time to have this conversation with me. I did tell y'all that this will be a powerful conversation, a lot of gems, and I hope that you were able to take something from it. Every time I talk about parenting and our children's mental health, I'm reminded that it's not about being perfect. It's about being present. And you hear Briyon share that as well, that being present is one of the key ways to show up for your child. So if you took nothing else from today's episode, remember this: connection before correction. Kids don't need us to have all the answer. They just need to know that we're trying and that we see them and that we love them out loud, even when they're making mistakes and need a million chances.
Absolutely.
So a huge thank you again, Briyon Minor, for sharing your wisdom and your heart with us today. Make sure you follow all my social media accounts. Also sign up for my mailing list to know when my book will be released, and check all the other resources in the show notes section below. And if you have not yet subscribed, please go ahead and do so. And if this episode spoke to you, share it with another mom or dad who might need a little encouragement today. So let's keep building homes that heal. Until next time, I'm Yannick, your friend, your sister, and your host, reminding you that you can rewrite your story and create the kind of love you never had. See you on the next episode. Thank you for watching another episode of The Blueprint. Please subscribe to my channel, like, comment, and share this video. Until next week, take care. Bye.